Greetings from beautiful downtown Oswego, Kansas. Steve Cole from the First United Methodist Church in Oswego, and we're glad to have you with us today as we have the sermon for October 24th, 2021. Today the sermon is from Mark chapter 10, verses 46 to 52. And Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem for the Passover. It's about time for there's a copy machine making noise on me. Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem. It's just before the Passover and not long before the crucifixion. But he's on his way and he passes through the city of Jericho. Okay. Mark 10, 46, 52. They came to Jericho, and as he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he's calling you." So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." Jesus said to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. May God add a blessing to the reading, the hearing, and the understanding of his word. Here Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem for the Passover. He's also on his way to be crucified. And on the way, he's about 15 miles outside Jerusalem. He passes through the city of Jericho. Now we know Jericho, right? You know, the place where Joshua fought the battle of Jericho and the walls came tumbling down. Yeah, that Jericho. You know, we learned a song about that when we were kids. Now, just before this, two of the disciples, James and John, had a request of Jesus, said, "Do for us whatever we ask." He said, "What is it you want me to do for you?" Where have we heard that before? Just a little while ago. That's what he said to Bartimaeus. He said, "What do you want me to do for you?" And same thing he said to James and John. They said they wanted to sit on his right and his left in his glory. Now, there'd be lots of people coming down the road at this time, passing through Jericho, because they were going to the Passover. So there'd be lots of people coming and going, and this was a perfect place for a beggar to sit and ask for help. So that's what Bartimaeus was doing. He's begging on the side of the road. Now, when we go see our son in Springfield, Missouri, oftentimes we go down Highway 13 as it passes into Springfield, and we go over a bridge over I-44. And right after you go over the bridge, there's almost always somebody there with a sign that's saying, "We'll work for food." Must be a good spot, because that's where that somebody is almost all the time. Now the thought goes through my mind, there's lots of jobs right now. Places all over the place says they're hiring, and you're wondering, why is this person begging, saying, "We'll work for food"? Why not just get a job where you work and you can buy your own food, right? Now, I don't know the person's situation or what the reasons why. Maybe there's reasons why they're not able to work a regular job. I don't know. But still, you kind of wonder why they do it. But then you kind of wonder, does that person really intend to work? Or, because lots of people, instead of giving them a job, just here's $5, or they just give them some money, or they might go get them a sandwich or something. So do they really want to work? One time there was a person came to the church asking if I had any work for them to do so they could make some money. It seemed like it was nice. This person wasn't just asking for a handout; they were willing to work for it. Well, we just happened to have some dirt work done, and there were some rocks laying on the ground, not big ones, just small, maybe a few inches, but they were big enough that they'd hurt the lawnmower. So we needed to get them picked up. And I said, well, I gave him a buck and said, well, just take the rocks and put them in piles so to make it easier for us to get them up, and I'll pay you for doing that. He lasted about half an hour. Came, he said, that's too hard to work. You have anything easier to do? No, I didn't have anything easier than that to do. So I gave him $5. He wanted 20. I said, for half an hour of work, here's $5. Well, we'll go back to the story about the blind man. He calls out to Jesus, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. You see, he knows something about Jesus. He calls him the Son of David, a title for the Messiah. Being blind has not kept him from knowing about Jesus. He's evidently heard about Jesus. Jesus is well known at this time, and no doubt had heard some stories about what Jesus has done. He's healed people and healed other people that were blind. So he probably knows a little bit about Jesus, and he knows evidently too that he is the Messiah. And Jesus says to him, what do you want me to do for you? Now, we would think it's obvious. What's the obvious thing this guy would want? We think it's obvious. Surely he wants Jesus to heal his blindness. But not necessarily. What is it? He's a beggar, right? So Jesus comes, what do you want? Does he want money? Does he want food? What is it that he really wants? Does he really want to be cured of his blindness? Because after all, if he is cured of his blindness, he's going to have to get a job and work for a living. He's not going to be able to beg anymore. So, wonder, does he really want to be healed? James and John, as we mentioned before, Jesus said, and what do you want me to do for you? They wanted places of honor to sit on his right and his left when he comes into his kingdom. You know what Bartimaeus means? Son of honor. Kind of interesting. Here was a man, he's a blind beggar, and his name means son of honor. That's kind of an interesting thought. Jesus says, what do you want me to do for you? Wow. What's he usually ask people for? Probably money. But that's not what he does. He says, I want to see again. Again. I kind of think about that guy on the highway in Springfield and it says the sign will work for food. What if somebody said, hey, guess what? I'll give you a full-time job. You won't have to come out here and beg anymore. You just have to come work for me and I'll pay you a living wage. You won't have to beg anymore. Would he take the job? Kind of wonder. I don't know. After all, that's what's going to happen. But he says, teacher, I want to see again. There's a song in our hymnal, open my eyes that I may see. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands the wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me. Spirit divine. One thing that this man did see, even though he was blind, he knew that Jesus was the Messiah, and he called him the Son of David. There were others, the religious leaders, Pharisees, and others that should have known who Jesus was, but they couldn't see it. In a way, they were blind, spiritually blind. And Jesus even called them at one time blind guides. I've been amazed at some of the different places I've been over the years, and people find out I'm the pastor of the Methodist Church, and they'll say, well, which one's that? Which church is that? Well, the church has been located where it's at for years and years and years and years. And yet, and they no doubt probably drive by it all the time, but They don't know which one it is. They just know it's a church. And the way they were kind of blind to that, they had no reason really to know, but they didn't know. And we have lots of people in our world today that are spiritually blind. It isn't because they can't find a church. There's churches, lots and lots of churches out there. It isn't because we don't have enough churches for people to go to. And it isn't that they can't find out about Jesus somehow, that we keep it a secret. My gosh, you just turn the TV on Sunday morning, you can find all kinds of places that'll tell you about Jesus. Or there's radio programs. It doesn't take long to go through the radio stations and I'll hear somebody say, "And Jesus said," right? Well, there's plenty of radio programs. It isn't that the information's not available. It's out there. But they're kind of blind to it. They don't see it. Partly because they don't really want to see. And it's not because it's just that they're not looking. How do we get them to see? How do we make these people that are spiritually blind help them to be able to see? And they're probably not going to walk right into the door of the church on a Sunday morning. A few might, but it doesn't happen very often. They're probably not going to just pick up a Bible all of a sudden and start reading it, or turn on a TV program and listen to a TV preacher or a radio preacher on the radio. No. So how do they get to see Jesus? Through us. Through what we do, what we say, and how we live. It's been said that you may be the only Bible anyone ever reads. And that can be good if we're living along with the teachings of Jesus and live a life in such a way that people can see it. It can go the other way too. They can see us in the way we act and go, if that's what Christians are like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. It can go both ways. But yeah. And then there's also not only those that were physically blind and those that are spiritually blind out there. What about us? Are there things that God wants us to see? Uh-oh. Now I'm getting personal. I mean, it's one thing to talk about other people out there who might be spiritually blind, but now I'm talking about us? Oh, I see pretty good already. Thank you very much. Well, but sometimes we have blind spots. Sometimes there's things that maybe we see, but not totally and clearly. Our vision isn't always 20/20. There might be something in our life that we need to have our eyes open to be able to see. What did Jesus say? He said, take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of somebody else's eye. About 10 years ago, I woke up one morning, and there seemed to be something wrong with my vision. Now, sometimes when you first wake up, it takes a while for your eyes to focus. And at first I thought that, it's taking a while for my eyes to focus here. I don't understand. And then, it's a little blurry, and so I thought, well, maybe my glasses are dirty. So I took them off, and I cleaned them up, and it didn't seem to help. Things just still didn't seem to look right. And then I noticed that it was only on one side. The right side, hey, I can close my left eye, right side, everything is fine, close my right eye. The left side. Things weren't looking quite right. So I got an appointment at the optometrist, and sure enough, there was some vision loss in my left eye, especially the peripheral vision and some of the lower level thing. And they started running tests. Well, what caused that? How come that happened? Well, there's all kinds of different things that could cause it. And so they did, did a TB test thinking maybe I might have tuberculosis. They checked my heart to make sure, that I hadn't had a heart attack. They checked did an MRI of my head, and they found nothing. But no, nothing was wrong except for my eye. Some of the nerves in the eye had died. Well, then they sent me to an ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist checked everything out and said basically the same thing. Yeah, you've lost some of your vision. Well, I knew that. So what did they do then? They sent me to a neurological ophthalmologist, who basically said the same thing. Yeah, you've lost some of the vision in your eye. That I already knew. Why? They ran all these tests. Nobody knew. We don't know. Sometimes that happens. It's called an ocular occlusion, or another term for it is a eye stroke. Well, and it's permanent. Can't be fixed. Now, I'm still see perfectly well out of my right eye, and I can see somewhat a little bit straight ahead anyway. In my left eye, I can drive, and I can read, and I can do most things. It's just once in a while I got to be careful about things, that are off to the side. But for the most part, and I've, like I said, 10 years, I've kind of gotten used to it. But that's there. I have a blind spot. And sometimes we all have blind spots in certain areas of our life. Maybe not physically, but spiritually. Something where we maybe need to have our eyes opened. A prejudice that we have that of some type or another, or it might be a grudge that we have against someone else, or a lack of forgiveness, or misunderstanding. You never know what it might be. But we need to be open to letting the Lord cure our blind spot. He cured Bartimaeus' blindness, and he can cure our blindness too if we go to him and ask for his help to help us understand. As the song says, open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Well, thank you for coming today. We're glad that you can be with us, and we know that the Lord goes with us to guide us, lead us, and help us today and every day. Amen.